Part D, the Kenlim Limited is contemplating retiring a 50 million shillings of a 30-year 1,000 shillings face value bond issued 5 years ago with a coupon interest of 9%. The bonds have a call price of 1,090 shillings and initially netted proceeds of 48.5 million due to a discount of 30 shillings per bond. The initial flotation cost was 400,000 shillings. The company intends to issue a 50 million 25-year 1,000 shillings face value bonds with a 7% coupon interest to raise funds for retiring the old bonds. The flotation costs on the new issue are estimated to be 450,000 shillings. The tax rate is 30%. The company will have a 2-month period of overlapping interest when it retires the old bonds required. Using net present value approach, advise the management of Kemlim Limited on whether the bond should be retired. Advise the company whether the bond should be retired. So, candidates, here we have information in regard to 2 bonds. There is one that was issued 5 years ago. We've been given the details. It was a 50 million 30-year 1,000 face value bond. It was issued 5 years ago with a coupon rate of 9%. And the bonds have a call price of 1,090 shillings. Consider there is a premium because the face value is 1,000 and the call price is 1,090 shillings. And initially netted proceeds of 48.5 million due to a discount of 30 shillings per bond. So it was issued at a discount, and the proceeds that were raised amounted to 48 million shillings. The initial flotation cost was 400,000 shillings. That is the information we have for the old bond. The company intends to issue a 50 million 25-year 1,000 shillings face value bonds with 7% coupon interest in order to raise funds for retiring the old bond. So the company wants to retire the old bond by issuing a new bond. All right? It intends to issue. That is a new bond. Now, the flotation cost on the new issue is estimated to be 450,000 shillings. And we can see the initial flotation cost was 400. This one is up by 50,000 shillings. The tax rate is 30%, and the company we read here will have a 2-month period of overlapping interest. That overlapping interest will form part of the initial investment. There is an overlapping interest of 2 months that is when it retires the old bond. So that is a cost. Do you understand? Now, in order to advise this company, we ought to calculate the net present value. So let's first put down the formula. This is part D. The net present value, we all know by this time that is a difference between present value cash inflows minus the present value of cash outflows. That is the general formula for net present value. To get the present value here, candidates, we are going to calculate the present value of cash inflows, and these inflows will constitute the annuity. It's going to be an annuity which will multiply with a factor, present value interest factor. We are going to multiply the present value annuity factor, not interest but annuity factor, present value annuity factor with the inflows, which we do not have, and this present value annuity factor at R% N times this annuity which you are going to calculate. This will constitute the cash inflow minus the initial capital. The cash outflow is the initial capital. Or initial investment. Let me call it investment. Initial investment. So here we're going to have the present value annuity factor. What will be the present value annuity factor? Now, what will be the rate? Now, from this question, candidates, we read that the company intends to issue a 50 million, 25-year, 1,000 face value bonds with a 7% coupon rate. Now, this 7% coupon rate will be our discounting factor. The 7% will be the discounting factor after deducting the tax of 30%. You understand? The cost of debt, KD, will be equal to the 7% times 1 minus T, which is equal to 7% times the tax is 30%, so it will be 70% times 70. This will be 70. The tax is 30%, so 1 minus 30, this will be equal to 0.7. 1 minus T, 100 minus T is equivalent to 0%. You understand, candidates? This is after tax cost of debt. The after tax cost of debt will be our discounting factor here. This is 4.9%. 4.9% will be the discounting factor here for 25 years. That will be 25 years. So, candidates, putting down the formula. Now that the discounting factor is in form of a decimal, it is not possible to read from the tables. So we are going to use the present value annuity factor formula, which is 1 minus 1 over 1 plus R raised to N. Divide this by R. Times annuity minus initial investment. And I've said that the discounting factor or the discounting rate is 4.9. So this will be equal to 1 minus 1 over this is 0, 0. This will be 1.049. All right. This will be raised to 25. It's raised to 25 over 0.49 times the annuity which we do not have minus that which we do not have. So we move on to determine the initial investment and the annuity. Initial investment and the annuity. So we're going to have